Herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Folge Real Stories, Real Israel. Heute habe ich Alon Penzel bei uns zu Gast. Er ist ein ehemaliger IDF-Soldat und Sprecher, israelischer Journalist, Fernsehmoderator und Sozialaktivist. Er hat ein Buch geschrieben namens Testimonies Without Boundaries und er wird uns da heute ein bisschen mit reinnehmen. Sei gespannt. Alon, welcome to our studio. It's a pleasure to have you here. Alon, would you tell us about yourself a little bit?
Schön hier zu sein, Melina, and I'm very, very happy to be here in Germany. I'm very excited. My name is Alon Penzel. I'm 24 years old from northern Israel. And basically my entire life has been around Israeli advocacy and fighting for people, fighting for unity around the world, for the strengths of the pro-Israeli communities around the world. And I've participated in many different leadership organizations related to Israeli advocacy. During my military service, I served for 3 years. I was the spokesperson in the IDF for the foreign media, so I was in touch with hundreds of different media outlets and journalists from around the world. And since October 7, I have been traveling the world to share about what happened, to share the testimonies of the attack, to make sure that people remember and don't forget. And I'm very excited to be here in Germany since my grandfather was born in Germany here and he escaped in 1939, 26 days before the war broke.
Wow.
And I think being here and sharing about my story and basically encouraging people and the community here in Germany to stand strong together is very moving for me, and I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Of course, always.
So, yes, let me start the podcast actually with our question we always ask. Who is your favorite person in the Bible? Do you have one? And why?
Wow, that's a great question. I think Moses, right? Moshe is a leader. I think you see the talent, you see the leadership, and you see the consistency, and you see that you don't give up, even during the hardest periods of times. And I think we're in a very difficult and challenging period of time for not only for the Jewish people, but for, I'm Jewish myself, but not only for the Jewish people, but for anyone who supports the truth. And currently the truth is being attacked. And I think he was fighting for the truth and he was fighting for justice. And this is why I think he is an inspiration if I look back and think about it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, you are in Germany right now. What are you doing in Germany at the moment?
What am I doing? I mean, I'm here to work with a very, very special organization and arrive for a very, very special event in Ulm, which I'm very excited to engage with the community and meet the community, to share my story regarding everything that has happened since October 7th, since that horrific day in Israel. I can share a little about my story and how I got involved with the attack, basically. When I finished my military service, I started studying political science at the Universität Haifa, and I had a very clear path regarding my life. I knew I wanted to study. I knew that I wanted to work as a diplomat for the foreign ministry.
Wow.
I knew what I wanted to do. I had a clear path, and I was traveling to Nepal for a holiday with my cousin and came back just a few days before the attack.
Really?
Just a few days before the attack. And this is what happens. You come back from a vacation, from a holiday, from a trip, and the world changes. And the world has changed for me since October 7. When it happened, already in the very morning, I realized that people are being slaughtered on the very same, not even the same rooms, but on the very same beds that I used to sleep on during part of my military service, just a year before. And that alone, and the fact that I have, up until a few days ago, had a neighbor who was being held hostage in Gaza, Matan Angrist, and very happily was released a few days ago, and we're very, very moved and happy about his return. And the fact that I'm the grandson of Holocaust survivors encouraged me to do something when the attack occurred, to make sure that the world never forgets and never denies what happened. And already on October 7, I realized that the world would deny and would forget. And so very quickly I decided to go down there and start documenting what happened. From interviews with Nova survivors, those who survived the massacre at the festival, from those who survived the massacre in the kibbutzim in southern Israel, from the recovery forces who recovered the bodies, from the rescue forces, from the medical teams who were on the ground and examined and tried to identify the bodies. Anyone who was involved in the attack, my goal was to make sure to document what happened to the very exact elaborated details and information, so we have everything and comply a document that would stay with us for generations to come, so we all remember what happened. And this is why I wrote Testimonies Without Boundaries, a book that basically commemorates the attack, that basically covers over 60 unfiltered testimonies from October 7 to shock the international community was what happened, to make sure that no one forgets. And since then, I've been traveling the world to share about this journey.
Wow. And so how is the reaction of the people? Like you're just, as you're coming with your book and sharing the testimonies, how would people react, and in which communities are you part of?
So, when I first started documenting it, I knew that the goal wasn't only in order to write the book and make sure that it exists, but also to make sure that people are actually exposed to it.
Yes.
And so, after contacting all these people, that was the first challenge, because at the beginning they didn't even want to talk to me. It was very hard.
What did they say?
First off, they were very busy practically. They were still recovering bodies at that time. They were still identifying bodies. But the more challenging part wasn't even to convince them to talk to me, but while you are sitting with them in an interview, to convince them to share the very hard details of what happened. People who have just lost their friends, their family members, people who just saw the worst, and you have to sit with them and insist on getting the very specific details of the atrocities. Because you know that if you don't have them, the world will deny. I knew that it would happen. And that was very challenging. It was very emotional. And in my book, I described that interaction that I have with these people who I interview. And I was very, very dedicated to the mission of documentation as a tool to remember and to fight the denial that I foresaw we would face and that we are facing now. And if this is the denial we're facing 2 years later, just imagine how it is going to look in 20 years' time and in 50 years' time. And I compiled this book and I wrote it in the most unfiltered way because, again, I didn't feel like I had the legitimacy to soften what happened. And when it was published, it was first published in Hebrew, then in English, and since then has been translated into 8 languages, including German. And I have been traveling 17 countries already to speak about what happened, to speak about what I was exposed to, what other people were exposed to share, basically to be the voice of those whose voice was taken. To be the voice of the survivors and the victims and the families of the victims and the survivors, and to make sure that the voice is heard. And they have been trying to silence us since the attack began. They have been they were trying to silence us even before. But it has just gotten worse the last 2 years, and they're trying to intimidate us, they're trying to make us scared to speak up, they're trying to make us go silent and feel like we shouldn't be proud of our identity and of who we are. And I think that my message is not only remember and never forget, that's very important, it's there, but it is also be proud of who we are, be proud of our identity, be proud of what we support, be proud that we are on the side of truth, be proud of the fact that we're winning and not losing, be proud that instead of being victims, and it's so easy to be victims because on October 7 we were victims, but instead of victimizing, we're getting stronger and we're prevailing and we're taking the sorrow and the pain and the grief and we're turning it into action, in happiness, in overcoming. So this is my message. From grief we'll go to action, and as long as they try to intimidate us, we'll speak up even louder. So this is what I've been doing the last really 2 years, and I've spoken in 17 different countries, from Bosnia, Croatia and Serbia to the United States, and I even addressed the House of Lords in the British Parliament. And again, my message is to share the voices of these people who experienced the worst, of these people who were massacred. And I think it is crucial, as hard as it is to read and listen and remember what happened that day. We must, because if we don't, no one is going to do it for us. And we're living in a world of denial, and we have seen many, many people worldwide who deny what happened, who insist that it didn't happen as Israel described it, or that Israel premeditated the attack, all these unbelievable accusations. And I think our job is to keep fighting every day. Even if they've got the numbers, we have got the truth.
Yes. So, your book is called Testimonies Without Boundaries. And by the way, this is the book. You should get it. We will put a link in our bio. So, would you tell us, would you share a testimony with us, which you deeply
Sure. In the book, I describe also my mental difficulty during the testimonies, and I think one of them was in this process was when I met with a Zaka volunteer who is basically one of the recovery, basically a recovery member who was there on the ground when the attack occurred, and he was with others recovering bodies from the burnt houses. And they entered one of the houses, and there was a birthday cake on the table in the house. And there was no one in the living room, but they continued to one of the rooms in the house. The house was completely ruined. They found an entire family, basically, a father and a mother and 2 children, and a grandma. They were hugging each other. It was a beautiful family picture, only that everyone was burnt. And they were hugging each other, probably protecting themselves from the fire while they were being burnt. And I think it just shows not only, of course, we know the cruelty of Hamas, we know the cruelty of the day, but it shows the human tragedy of the day. People were being burned together, families were being burned together. They were hugging each other, trying to protect themselves from the fire. And what comes to mind is what were the last moments like? Just imagine the parents were trying to protect their children, unable to do anything in order to protect their loved ones. Children who are watching their parents being burnt alive. And they went out of the room and they were trying to figure out whose birthday cake it was, who it belonged to. They didn't find out. But this is something about October 7. They said, it's real people, it's real stories. You see more than just bodies. You see families, you see stories, you see events. For instance, this was a birthday of one of the family members, probably. And many more stories which are human stories. And this is why I mention it, because we have to remember it's not just the bodies and the atrocities, it's not just the cruelty, but it's real people, human beings, many of them children and elderly, who were slaughtered just 2 years ago, not far from where I lived. And I think we should remember that behind these atrocities there are people, human beings. And these stories in the book, when I share about it, it's not only about the horrors, it's also about the human stories behind them.
Yeah, thank you. That's so important because, you always hear in the media like it's all about the war and all of it, but there are really stories behind that. So thank you for doing
Really
that.
humans behind it.
Yeah.
It's not just bodies, it's not just numbers. And unfortunately, we can't get to all the stories because so many people were murdered that day.
Yeah.
But these are real people with real faces. And I describe, I referred to the mental challenge. For me, it wasn't just seeing bodies or listening to the atrocities and witnessing it. Rather identifying, basically matching an atrocity, an incident, to a real person. It's not only what happened, it's knowing who the person who was murdered was, what his face was, what his family was, what his story is. So that's even more challenging because then it gets real. It's not just numbers, it's not just bodies, it's real people with real stories, with real families, with real history, including children. And you see their faces, you see the faces of how they looked before they were killed, and then you see their bodies. It wasn't easy. I knew what I was doing, I knew what the goal was, I knew that there was a higher cause, I knew that I was fighting for something that matters.
That would be my next question, actually. How do you manage it? Yeah.
This is a great question. I'll share something very personal with you. When I went to the therapist after October 7, I started going. And on the fourth session, after 4 sessions, you know what the therapist told me? She said, I can't handle it anymore.
Really?
I can't.
Oh, wow.
She couldn't bear to hear the atrocities that I was exposed to.
Look at this, yeah.
And it just shows, October 7 was a tragedy for all Israelis, even professionals. This is how deep the tragedy was. This is how deep the trauma still is. And I think, to be very honest and direct, straightforward with you, I think that there are mental consequences that are yet to be seen and that I will deal with in the future. Because now and in the last 2 years, I've been so focused on bringing the message forward and making sure that people know. And I've traveled from one country to another to speak about what happened. But in a few years' time, when I look back and try to process what happened, maybe then it will be more challenging than it is now. And I hope that I'll be able to keep doing what I am doing at the moment, which is fighting for the truth. And I remind myself that every day that I do something that matters and that it is worth it. And that it is worth the difficulty, that it is worth the challenges, and that it has a true impact on Israel. It has a true impact on the families. It has a true impact on commemorating what happened.
Yeah. Wow. So, Alon, you are in Germany right now. What would you say, in case of anti-Semitism growing in Germany, what's on your heart to tell us about that? Yeah.
It's on my heart to tell that maybe it's not the most politically correct. Maybe it is. I don't know what the German people think. But I do honestly, genuinely feel that we are in the days of 1933, I would say. We obviously haven't reached, and we won't, because we're stronger and we're more aware. We won't reach the dark days of the Holocaust. But we are in the dark days of 1933, I believe. And we should never underestimate the danger of anti-Semitism, especially outside Israel, especially in the country where the worst happened. And I think that, again, the only way to counter that anti-Semitism, the only way to counter the danger that we're discussing right now is to fight back by being proud of who we are, by speaking Hebrew on the streets if you are an Israeli, by not taking your kippah and mezuzah off, by wearing our hostage and Israeli pins, by waving the Israeli flags, by being proud of who we are, by being very outspoken about where we stand, where we stand and what we support. To know that we are on the side of truth and not to be intimidated, to be very outspoken and loud about it.
Yes.
Because again, they are trying to intimidate us, and if we are intimidated, then they succeed, and anti-Semitism grows. If they see that we're standing strong and proud and resilient, they will be the ones intimidated, and they will be able to counter that anti-Semitism. This is the only way. We have to work with the administration, and we have to work with the authorities, and we have to collaborate with them. But the very basic fight against anti-Semitism begins in the community, in our communities, in our ability to wake up in the morning and not to be afraid, although it might feel uncomfortable, although they are trying to treat us unfairly, to wake up every day, be proud, be resilient, and this is the best way, the most productive way we can counter it. This is what I feel regarding Germany these days. This is what I feel regarding most European countries these days. And I do truly, honestly, genuinely feel that the way to counter it is to stay stronger and be louder.
Stronger and louder.
Stronger and louder, simple as that.
Yes, cool. So let me ask you, how could we support you? How could we in Germany support Jewish life?
I think that you're already doing a great job. I think that you're doing an amazing job, to be honest. And we're standing together side by side, shoulder to shoulder, fighting together. And this is my encouragement perhaps to everyone who is watching us right now, to continue speaking up, to continue being loud, to continue standing strong with one another. We're together in this. There is no difference. We're standing together for a goal that belongs to humanity. It's more than just Israel, you know. People say, who should support Israel? Who should read the book? You know what? Who should read the book? It's not only pro-Israelis. It's not only Jewish people. It's every human being who supports humanity, a rational human being who supports human values. Simple as that. October 7, and I would say most of the time, Israel in general. Supporting Israel means supporting humanity, means supporting the very basic fundamental norms and values that we want to see in our societies these days.
Yeah.
Against the barbarism that we see from Hamas, from the terrorist organizations, from anyone who supports these terrorist organizations, not only in the Middle East, but also in Europe. So this is my message. As I said, since the book was published, it has been translated into 8 languages, and I have spoken and addressed many parliaments and politicians and world leaders. And it was endorsed by Israel's state president, has been distributed by Israel's foreign ministry.
That's amazing.
And has become, you know, at the beginning, they were trying to silence me, and they were trying to blacklist and ban the book in many places. Yes, so at the beginning, Amazon blacklisted the book.
Really?
It banned the book, citing violation of guidelines.
No way.
It did.
Okay.
And only after press coverage, after, as I mentioned, we spoke up and we were very strong and we fought them in the media, they reversed their decision. And since then, and this is the sweet revenge that I always say when they try to silence us, we speak up even louder. Since then, it has become a bestseller in 9 different countries, including Germany.
Cool, yeah.
And this is, I always say, this is sweet revenge. When they try to silence us, we speak up. When they try to ban the book, people want to read it even more. And I'm encouraging everyone who is watching us right now, don't only get the book, send it to your friend, to your neighbor, to these people in the middle in your community who are not certain where they stand regarding Israel, who are not certain they know enough because we know what the mainstream media broadcasts and what it reports.
Yeah.
Send it to them. Make sure they read it. Make sure they know what happened. It makes an impact. And I've seen it, that the book makes an impact. And I'm encouraging everyone who's watching us right now to take part in this mission, because I try to do it myself. I go to many different countries, but I need you with me. I need you with me.
Now I'm curious, did you see someone changing his mind after reading your book?
Certainly. I've seen people, usually people who are like, I call them swing people. They are in the middle, they don't know enough. And they read the book and they tell me, Hamas is what is it? Hamas is a terrorist organization, which for us is very funny, right? We know what is the surprise, right? But they come to, what is it? I didn't know. Hamas is a terrorist organization. This is the reaction. Sometimes even people who consider themselves pro-Palestinians, and they even protest and demonstrate against me when I speak in campuses, for instance, and there are many demonstrations and protests against me, and death threats when I go and speak in different places, and attempts to silence my voice and the voice of the victims. And they would never say it during the talk itself. But some of them come to me after the talk and personally tell me, you have shifted something in my mind. The book has shifted something in my mind. The testimonies in the book have shifted something.
Like real stories.
Real stories.
No one can take them away.
They understand that what happened there on October 7 symbolizes the barbarism of Hamas and the terrorist organizations and terrorists who participated in the attack versus the real human values of Israel. And even if they don't say it out loud, I'm telling you, it makes an impact. Some of them say it, some of them keep it to themselves, but it makes an impact, and I've seen it and I've heard it. And you know what? This is probably what makes me keep going. I am encouraged by people who tell me how important this work is. And I remind everyone that I'm just the messenger here. These are stories and testimonies of people who were there, who experienced this, who were very, very brave to share their stories here in the most elaborated and straightforward way. And I encourage these people and adore these people who took part in this basically, I would say, historic document. The recent very important accomplishment, very significant accomplishment of the book, just a few weeks ago, when the UN used the book for the first time, United Nations, as a legal document, the very testimonies from the book, to blacklist Hamas as an organization which commits sexual abuse. As in the book, I was trying to cover every aspect of October 7th, from children to elderly, from sexual abuse of men and women as well, from the kibbutzim to the party, covering every aspect of October 7th. And the UN used it for the first time as a legal document to blacklist Hamas, and hopefully it will be used in the future, the book, as a legal document also to put Hamas terrorists on trials, both in Israel and in The Hague. So yes, I've seen the change, and I've witnessed the impact.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alon. So we just heard the hostages got released. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yes, really. And so what would you say? Is the war over now?
I would say that this week has been the most moving week in my life.
Yes.
Emotions can't, words can't describe the emotions that I was feeling when the date was happening. And I'm so happy and so glad that they are finally back. It was a moral duty to bring them back, and there are still more to bring, deceased unfortunately, but that have to be brought back. And regarding the war, whether the war in Gaza is over or not, whether the war against Hamas is over or not, that we'll see in the coming days, weeks. One thing is certain: our war in the diaspora, your war in the diaspora, is not yet over. And it will keep going. And unfortunately, right, because we would like it to be over, but the war is not over. Anti-Semitism continues to grow, and it won't stop because the war in Israel might have stopped. It will continue because anti-Semitism they can find an excuse each time, a different reason for Jew hate. And therefore, the war has not stopped here in the diaspora. And I'm encouraging people to remember that, and remember that we're still fighting for our very right to exist, but we're fighting from a very proud perspective and a very proud point of view where we know exactly who we are, we know where we stand, and we know that we're standing for the truth, and that we know we will prevail. Despite their attempts, despite sometimes we feel like they have got the numbers and that we are like a smaller community and that we are the minority, first off, it's not necessarily true because maybe they are a very loud minority and we are the majority here. But this, one way or another, we will prevail because we're on the side of truth, and truth is what matters. So I'm encouraging everyone to remember that we're on the side of truth and the truth always prevails.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Alon. Thank you for being our guest here in this podcast.
Thank you for having me. I mean, I'm very happy and excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to our event in Ulm on Sunday.
Me
very
too.
Excited.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melina. Thank you.
Hey, so gut, dass du eingeschaltet hast zu unserer neuen Folge Real Stories, Real Israel. Hey, schaut, dass ihr an das Buch kommt. Ihr könnt das bei uns im Shop bestellen. Wie ihr unsere Arbeit selber auch unterstützen könnt, findet ihr unten im Link. Bleibt auf jeden Fall mit uns in Kontakt und lasst uns echt gemeinsam eine Stimme sein für die Wahrheit. Shalom.